presented by Bet Rivers. I'm Ky McKeon. We are the three-man weave. We'll be coming to you live every day, about at 12 p.m. Central Time to talk about the day's slate. So remember to subscribe to the Field of 68 Best Bet YouTube channel you're watching currently to never miss a show. Follow us on Twitter, 3MW_CBB. We tweet out the links. It's all good. Also, Saturday shows, sometimes Sunday shows, are at 10:15 a.m. Central. We'll remind you guys all about that as we go along through our daily shows. But today we're talking futures and Jim Root out in Vegas. I'm excited that this is the last day I have to talk about futures because I'm really excited for games.
Yeah, I'm a little preseasoned out, Ky. I think it's going to be more fun to actually discuss basketball on the court rather than have the same arguments with people on whether a team's upside is as high as we think it is or not. But hey, we got one more day to talk futures, and then it's all going to be open tomorrow. Matt, you ready to do this?
Jim, the future is now. The future is done. It's in the review. The crystal ball, throw it out. It's shattered. It's here. We're live. We're in the moment. Ky, let's roll.
Yeah, we're excited to work with Field of 68 this year. Without further ado, let's get into the show. We're talking national title odds. We're talking conference title odds. We're talking player of the year odds. Still some time to get in some of those bets before the tip-off tomorrow. Let's go national title odds to start us off. Fellas, I'm going to list out the favorites here, and let's just run down these quickly. Would you take them? Would you not take them? Is there value there? Gonzaga, the number one favorite, plus 650. Michigan is actually number two at plus 900. Texas, UCLA, Villanova, plus 1,000. By the way, all of these values are courtesy of Bet Rivers. That is the sportsbook we will be quoting for the entire show. Kentucky's at plus 1,300, Duke 1,400, and Purdue and Kansas plus 1,500. Matt, what do you think about Gonzaga plus 650? Personally, I'm still a fan.
I am too. It's been their year the last few years. Got screwed, the last two Final Four appearances. The talent is sublime. Got some experience back. Andrew Nemhart running the point. Jim, you're adorned in Gonzaga attire, so I want to shower this future with praise, but I feel like I'm just doing a disservice to you. This is your platform. One last before I toss to Jim, Ky, I do think if you're looking in the top five, this is the team to take. I think Gonzaga is categorically has more value than Michigan or UCLA or even Villanova in this upper echelon. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think there's one more that I believe Ky and I agree on for who should be getting bet up in this favorite department. But yeah, I think Gonzaga is the best team. They're pretty much unequivocally consensus across any preview platform or analytics preseason website. Gonzaga's number one. So they belong here. They belong to have the shortest odds on the board. But I don't know. I don't know if I love plus 650, Ky. I guess the thought process is it ever going to be better than plus 650? And I'm not sure that it will, especially if they knock off Texas on opening weekend. So if you want to bet Gonzaga, like if you think they are going to win the title, you should do it now because I don't think you're getting 8-1 or 10-1 at some point. So you probably need to do it now.
I'm kind of a romantic, Jim. This just feels like Mark Few's year, DUI aside. We don't have to sweep that under the rug, but
okay.
Never happened. He's been on
very romantic.
He's been on the precipice so many times. It just feels like this is the year they break through with Timmy, with homegrown. But Jim, as you mentioned, as you hinted to, as you alluded to, our favorite bet among these favorites, and maybe my favorite bet in terms of title odds in general, it's Kansas 15-1.
Yeah, ignore my background. Don't worry about this, folks.
Right. Yeah. Ironic, Jim and I did go to Mizzou, so we're impartial here. We're unbiased. Kansas is a team that we think is number two in the country, I think, across the board for all three of us. So being priced at the 9th or 10th shortest odds is a no-brainer for me, Jim.
Yeah, Matt, why is Kansas priced worse than Kentucky and Duke? They're both blue bloods.
Right.
Kansas was much better last year, returns more. What's going on there?
Jim, I can't look into the minds of the odds makers behind the counter. My suspicion is that they're coming off last season, and we talked about this before. All the blue bloods are to various degrees undervalued, but of the three, the triumvirate you just mentioned, it seems like KU actually has the most value given where we have them ranked, where we see their upside. It's a team that feels like a great Bill Self type team, more experience laden, more depth. They have that nucleus that's back last year. They appear to have solved the point guard issue. There's a little bit of turbulence there with Remy Martineau in the exhibition that Twitter latched onto that very quickly. I'm not worried about that. I think they have other options. They can kind of dance around that. That continues to be a season-long thing.
I didn't buy it. I watched the game, that exhibition where apparently Bill Self was riding Remy Martin, and Martin was like super engaged, like locked in, very focused. I think there was definitely something played up about that. Martin's going to be fine. I mean, he's not the dream point guard, but he's very good.
Not starting doesn't mean in the doghouse automatically, right? Especially on a team as talented as Kansas. Let's go to the next section here within the national title odds. I call it sexy and undervalued. And fellas, feel free to pepper in some of yours. Look, frankly, the top 10 teams, one of those teams is probably going to win the national title. But sometimes the teams outside of that squeak in there, maybe make a Final Four run, national championship run. These are some of the guys I like, some of the teams I like in, we'll say the 11 to 15, 11 to 20 category in terms of odds. Virginia UNC pops out.
I'm already pushing back. All right, I'm just list these real quick.
Hey, both of you, put your swords away. Come on.
Then you can pop in here.
Show one.
Virginia and UNC are 30-1. Houston and Oregon are 35-1. I know for a fact you guys like one of those bets.
Quack, quack.
Tennessee, 55-1. I know is probably Matthew's favorite bet. And then UConn, 60-1. These all seem like good values to me on the surface. Jim, where am I wrong? Tell me why I'm wrong. I'm an idiot.
I don't disagree on most of them. I think Virginia is not good value at 30-1.
I agree.
Offensive ceiling, very questionable. We're going to need to see something from their shooters first. They're going to play defense, but I think they should be priced around that 50-1 range. So I wouldn't jump in on the 30-1 there. But Ky, you love your Tar Heels, Mr. Dawson Garcia. Maybe you might be his biggest cheerleader in the entire country.
I think he's really good, man. I think he's going to take a huge sophomore leap. It's a lot of faith in Hubert Davis. Does he warrant that faith quite yet, Matthew? A lifelong Duke fan, Matthew Cox. I don't know. And that's why I'm hesitant on putting my money towards him. But I still think it's pretty good value. There's a real good chance, a reality we live in, that Caleb Love's season last year was an anomaly and he lives up to the hype.
Yep.
Is it worth 30-1? It might be.
Yeah, I think there's decent value, not great, because there's also a world where Caleb just isn't that great at basketball and he continues to drag this offense down. And Hubert Davis is a first-year head coach that's still trying to figure out the identity and the system he wants to play. But the talent is fantastic. No one disputes that. You mentioned the Tennessee. I just want to beat the Vol drum. I locked it in at 5,000. It's actually 5,500 right now at Bet Rivers. One of the better values on the board. I'm looking at the aggregator site here. So Bet Rivers offering really good value relative to other books. And it's just a team that has a makeup that can go deep in the tournament. And you can nitpick Rick Barnes' tournament shortcomings all you want. But you just look at what that team had last year. What they lacked was that true dynamo at the point guard position. Now they have two. It's the leap that we've seen Vescovi make in the offseason. Guy who came in late last year, took a while to get acclimated, and they have Kennedy Chandler.
2 years ago.
Sorry.
Yep.
2 years ago. He's just taken a while to get used to the system. He's clearly like the light bulb's gone off. We've seen that so far in the exhibition. We read everything about that. And they have Kennedy Chandler, who may be the best freshman point guard coming in this year. So I think Tennessee has a lot going for it. Experience, size, talent, and you have that freshman to sophomore leap with those 5 stars. So Jim, I think Tennessee is a complete package.
Yep, I love Josiah James. He should be healthy. He's been struggling with injuries. And the deepest run Barnes has ever made was with TJ Ford. Final Four, NBA caliber point guard. Kennedy Chandler is that same kind of player.
Yeah.
So perhaps that is what gives him the boost. I just think that's great value. I mean, they're like top 15 at KenPom, top 15 at Bart Torvik, and they're priced down at 55-1. That's probably one of the few on the board remaining where I think value is good.
You're going to love the SEC odds, Jim, when we get there. Let's do one more section here for national title odds. Flyers. So these guys are looking for a Loyola type run. We're not talking Dayton this year, Jim.
All right.
I'm not going to give it to Dayton there.
Nope.
Teams that maybe can put together a Loyola type run, right? A low seed somehow has a great tournament. Maybe they're underseeded, makes the Elite Eight, makes Final Four, hedging opportunities. I'm looking at Drake, plus 15,000. Belmont,
just say 150-1. I think
150-1. You're right. It's more of it's a mouthful.
The math's tough, Jim. You have to move the decimal over 2 zeros.
Right. I don't want you to.
It's tough
to.
Belmont, our boy Jeff Goodman, his Belmont Bruins top 25 team for him at 200-1. BYU is a top 25 team for us for the 3-man weave, 200-1. Yeah, taking that all day. And then Ohio for my super long shot at 1,000-1. There's a reality they can get to the point of a 12 seed, 11 seed, make a little run. Matthew, Thoughts on those Flyers? Any to add as well?
Yeah, I want to co-sign a couple of those. BYU, the upside may not look as enticing on paper from a national title perspective, but we've seen Mark Pope take a team that was on the fringe preseason and before the tournament cancellation 2 years ago. That was a national title dark horse, in my opinion. I think a lot of people are in that camp. So we've seen him go from, make these cataclysmic leaps of just, raising the, what looks like a good roster and just taking it to another level. So I think Pope's a great bet here at that value. I agree with you on Drake, but my issue is that I scroll down the board farther. I see Northern Iowa at 30,000 to 1. Yeah. And I don't think Drake is doubly as good at Northern Iowa. That's 30, not how you say that.
30,000 to 1 would be pretty cool.
30,000 to 1.
30,000 to 1. No, it's not. It's 300 to 1. Thank you, Jim. But that's a phenomenal. I mean, they were basically a top 50 team with AJ Green fully healthy 2 seasons ago. He's back. All reports are he's healthy. Pretty much the same core nucleus is there. I don't think this is like a Loyola type of repeat, but you could see Northern Iowa creeping inside the top 25 and making some headwaves as we've seen Drake and Loyola do last year, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, those Valley teams are really good, top level. I mean, you could honestly throw Loyola in here if you really wanted to, if you believe in Drew Valentine taking over. The one I wanted to add, I think the Mountain West is similar to the Valley where it's got some pretty solid value. We don't have Colorado State listed, guys. I didn't see it on the Bet Rivers website, but if they're in that 200 to 1 range, I think, there are a lot of people that are into them as a potential top 25 team this year. And then Nevada too. Like if you just really like one of those Mountain West teams, hop in on them. San Diego State's 80 to 1. And you could argue that these are all roughly equal between Nevada, Colorado State, San Diego State. So if you want to go for a long shot, one of those teams, the backcourt for both Colorado State and Nevada are excellent. Get them into the tournament. Who knows? They're in the Sweet 16 and you're feeling good.
Guards win in March, as the robots have always told us. Jim, I'm seeing Nevada at 200 to 1 at Bet Rivers. I agree with that. Just 2 more, Kai. I want your comments on.
Oh, yeah.
New Mexico State and Iona at 300 to 1. Is that too fringy? I think
those aren't long enough. I think they should
be long enough.
500 or 1,000 to 1. Like maybe Coutinho, but
you have 2 really strong rosters with phenomenal coaches. They're both dealing with very serious injuries, multiple guys right now. Those are probably wait and sees. I'm actually hoping Iona or New Mexico State struggles out of the gate. Maybe that drops to like 500 to 1 and I throw the old Hail Mary. But if you're really looking for deep Flyers, those are the 2 I like.
In the chat, Reggie says UAB. I actually don't see their odds right now on the Bet Rivers page, but certainly a team that can make a deep run. Obviously, we think they're a favorite in Conference USA. A crap ton of transfer talent there.
They're insanely deep. Like if basketball was 11 on 11, UAB might be like a top 20 team.
I would love that.
Let's move on, guys.
Or something. Yeah.
Conference title odds. We're going to go through the big boys first. Power 6 here. That's right. Power 6, Big East. You are included in our Power 6. And then we'll pick out a couple, cherry pick a few that we like in the other leagues. Starting with the ACC, alphabetical order here. The favorites are Duke, plus 250. It's worth reminding everyone out there that Duke hasn't won a regular season conference title, I think, since 2010. And I might even be wrong on that. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
it's not worth reminding. Everyone knows
it's been a long time.
We're not doing our jobs if we don't remind them.
All right, fine.
But it's Coach K's final year. He's bound to get some refs.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that too.
Have you heard about that? Have you heard it's Coach K's last year? Nope. I didn't know.
Nope.
UNC's plus 420. I already talked about how I like them in the national scale. I do think that's good value in the ACC. And then here's a couple more. I'll pepper in, Jim. Virginia's plus 500. It's weird. They're the same price nationally as UNC, but different in the ACC. Florida State 575. Virginia Tech 9 to 1. Louisville 12 to 1. Any pop out there in the ACC?
Well, if there's one thing we know, it's that Tony Bennett cannot win in the ACC. That's just not what he's known for. Very, very poor coach in the ACC. No, obviously that's ridiculous. But yeah, 5 to 1. I can't quite get on board with that. Virginia Tech, maybe. I think Virginia Tech and Virginia are roughly equal-ish this year. So if you're looking for value, the 9 to 1 is probably better than the 5 to 1. And Matt, I feel like you're kind of a Louisville guy here at 12 to 1.
Big Louisville guy. Yeah. I've watched them play both exhibitions. I've sort of had my finger on this team all off season. I know Chris Max had a couple of tough seasons, losing by 100,000. The exact margin I forget to UNC.
2 games last year.
And the other, who else was it? Horrific. This team's deep,
right?
Wisconsin thing, right? Yeah, Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't beat teams by 50. That made no sense. Louisville's legit. I mean, Chris Mack's a coach we like. that talent has we've forgotten how talented that roster is. Guys like Samuel Williamson, and now we've seen Malik Williams. And the expectations look very healthy, and he's really the key, the linchpin of that defense. Their heart and soul. A lot of depth on the perimeter. Max had a few injuries the last couple of years. Now he has the depth to mitigate that. So I think Louisville's a great bet here. And what looks like kind of an open coin flip at the top of the totem pole. If you have to choose one of the favorites, Kai, I'd probably go Duke, but I think I'd go with Louisville, one of the tier 2 teams.
Yeah, I'm not betting the ACC, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
these guys are pretty strong and reasonable. Like there's no standout mispriced team.
A round of applause for Bet Rivers. Way to go. Our sponsor, Big East. Villanova is a favorite, heavy favorite, minus 155. You have UConn at plus 450. Then you have a smattering of teams. And I'm going to point out one in particular here, Matt, because our friend in the chat here, Mike Berea, said St. John's, a Big East dark horse for sure. And they're 12-1 right now to win the Big East. After Villanova, it's anybody's game. Now, I do think Villanova's going to win this league. That's why they're priced at minus 155. But if you want to take a flyer, value-wise, I think the Johnnies are probably your best bet there.
Nova's tough. It's a team that I think we're all, penciling in that, they are cut above the rest of the Big East, but it does seem like the a weaker version of Nova, where the depth is a little bit questionable. We haven't seen Gillespie come off the injury. They lost Antoine. They don't really have that dynamic, Robin or co-alpha in the backcourt alongside Gillespie. So there's a world where you could see Nova looking vulnerable in one of these tier 2, tier 3 teams sneaking up, Jim. And of that group, I think Xavier, Johnny's, and Hall are all the most enticing prospects.
I'm not into Xavier, especially with Fremantle's mysterious foot injury that's keeping him out till at least December. We don't know exactly when he'll be back. So I don't love them at the third shortest odds. Kind of with Kai, probably Johnny's would be the long shot if we're going to go. But there's other places that have Nova like plus money or right about even money. And that would be my Big East bet if I had to make it. I think Villanova's winning this league probably by 3 games. So I don't want to pay the minus 155 juice. So I'd look elsewhere, but no other values for me just because I think it's Nova's league.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then, Jim. Big 12. Kansas, the favorite here, plus 120. Texas, plus 155. Yeah, you heard that right. Texas is 10-1 to win the title. Kansas is 15-1. But KU is plus 120. Texas plus 155 in the conference. Things to make you go, West Virginia, plus 750, as well as Baylor.
That's silly. Why
by far
the same price?
Yeah, by far the best value in this.
Matt, did you make these odds, Mr. West Virginia?
Yeah, I actually would have them the same because I am, me and Bob Huggins go way back. We're boys. Baylor, West Virginia are the right plays here. Texas Tech is enticing at 18-1, but I think there's a lot of question marks there.
The Terrence Shannon cloud.
The Terrence Shannon thing is a major question mark. I think he's arguably the most important, most valuable two-way player. This is a tough one to me. I guess the odds makers are probably like, oh yeah, KU wins the Big 12 every year. It's like, well, I feel like that's a loose historical precedent to justify not having the national odds and the conference odds.
In the last 3 years.
Right. They've lost their mojo. Yeah, they've lost their mojo completely. So Baylor fans are irate, and they should be.
How about scorched earth Oklahoma State? If the band holds up postseason, 33-1 to win the Big 12. What do you think, Matt? You're a big Oklahoma State guy.
Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going for the 33-1. That Baylor plus 750 is the best bet.
Absolutely.
I think they are
just take that.
A clear tier 1 team. Matt doesn't quite agree, but they're just only a little notch below the Kansas and Texas of the world. And there's a world where they are as good or better than them. So Baylor plus 750 is the right one.
Big 10, Michigan's plus 200, Purdue's plus 300, Ohio State's plus 600, Illinois, my pick in this league, plus 700, the best value on the board for me. Actually, Matt, I'm going to double back on what I just said because your Indiana Hoosiers are sitting down at plus 2,500, 25-1 behind Rutgers, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. A lot of disrespect there maybe for Mike Woodson. There's a lot of unknowns with that situation, of course, but for my money, that's fantastic value. What do you think of your alma mater?
I like it. I have a national title ticket on them. I don't know why this may not make any sense. I like Indiana more from a national title perspective because they have a higher upside and there's more value from that lens. The Big Ten's a gauntlet, man. I think you get into that league and Indiana has depth. And so there's a lot of, they can overcome injuries or, just guys taking off or guys flopping. Tamar Bates is already a little bit banged up. To me, the best play here is Purdue. I think Michigan has some, it's a high floor, but it's not as high or sturdy as Purdue's. So you're getting 3-1 Purdue. I think that's the best bet. I think this team has pretty much zero blemishes.
Yeah, I don't think that Purdue and Michigan are that far ahead of Illinois. That's kind of where I land, to where they're 2-1 and 3-1 versus Illinois at 7-1. So I'd probably say the best value would be Illinois, and they did technically win the league last year. There's controversy because of games played and whatnot, and who actually ended up getting the 1 seed. But I think Illinois should be right there. Like if they were 4-1, I'd say that's priced correctly. But at 7, maybe a little value there, Mr. McKeon. Although you can't bet it, Mr. Illinois boy.
I cannot. No, you cannot bet Illinois in Illinois. Illinois is number 4 in KenPom, and Purdue is 5. So KenPom would probably be on the Illini. Maybe he is. Ken, let us know. Moving on, Pac-12. UCLA is the favorite at plus 150. Oregon plus 250. And then there's USC plus 500. Arizona 7-1. Guys, it's Oregon, right? UCLA, very good team. We've well documented. We're a little bit lower on the Bruins than majority of people in the country. They're not a top 3 team, maybe not a top 5 team in our eyes. They have the ceiling of that, but currently that's not where we see them. Jim, do you like Oregon here plus 250 out of all the other bets here?
I wanted to like Oregon, but I think that's the right price. Like I don't think it's outstanding value or anything. If they were down at 4-1, 5-1, which I think maybe they used to be at Bet Rivers and got bet down a little bit, that would have been the pick. But I don't want to recommend it at plus 250. I think that's about what they should be, Matt. And I think UCLA is a little overvalued in the market, but these prices are what they should be. In my opinion.
Oregon is a team. I'm looking at the national title odds as well. We are high on them. We like this team. We like the upside, but I think the odds makers have sniffed it out as well. So you can't talk yourself through the wall to bet it if the price isn't right. And I think Oregon is a little too expensive for my blood. I'm looking more at Arizona. Yeah, it's a team that we think it springs top 25. The chat good. The chat's smart. We have phenomenally intelligent followers. And 7-1. Yeah. UCLA's got a high floor. I'm starting to. Every day goes along, kind of more and more in on the UCLA thing. Right. But Arizona at the current price, it would be my bet here. Another, again, power conference. I think the odds are pretty sharp. I'm going to stay away here.
The problem with the UCLA thing, Matt, is if we're wrong, we're going to be so loudly wrong because like everyone thinks they're good.
Yeah, so I'm trying to tiptoe. I'm trying to back it. I'm trying to back it up slowly right now.
It'll be very much like everyone could see this. Why couldn't you guys? You're dumb. Like figure it out. But no, I'm with the Arizona thing. I think when you're betting stuff like this, you're kind of looking for variance. And if Tommy Lloyd rocks, like they could be they could be the best team in this league. We don't know that. We don't have evidence of it, but the uncertainty is a good thing here when you're betting a future where if Mathurin and Tubelis really blossom as sophomores and Lloyd is the foreign player whisperer that he has been in the past, then I mean, I think Arizona 7-1 would be, if I had to make a bet at these current odds, it would be Arizona 7-1.
Best front court in the league, arguably. I mean, guard plays a little suspect, you could argue, but that's a good bet. All right, I'm in on the Cats. I'm writing it down. I'm adding it right now.
Come on down. Hey, Gonzaga's a pretty good program. That's where Lloyd came from. Not a bad program to come from as your first head coaching job.
Prove that.
All right,
you can't prove that.
I can't prove that. They never won a title, Jim.
Yeah.
Weak league. No strength of schedule. Next conference, SEC. Kentucky plus 225 is the favorite. Alabama's right behind them at plus 255. Arkansas plus 425. Excuse me. Auburn going off at 6.5-1. Tennessee is 12-1. We already kind of gave away our hand here. That's the best value in this conference. Jim, any other values like here? Mizzou?
No, God, don't touch Mizzou. Mizzou's not winning the SEC. They might not win 7 games in the SEC.
They even posted?
Oh yeah,
they're there.
But no, Tennessee's the bet here. I mean, I think they should be right up around 5-1. So Matt at 12-1. I know you're getting up with Rocky Top once again here.
Yeah, this is the best power conference regular season future on the board. If you're not about the Vols and you're not really buying into sticky Rick Barnes and maybe you don't think I don't know, John Fulkerson's injury linger. Who knows if you're trying to grasp for straws and poke holes at the Tennessee thing. I do like Mississippi State. I feel like people's opinions on Ben Howland vary. The talent's really good. And Jim, I know Rocket Rotz is your favorite player in college basketball. I don't think this team needs him that bad. They have depth up and down the lineup. Tolu Smith, a strong enforcer inside, and Iverson Molinar is one of the best shot makers in the country. So I kind of like Mississippi State as a Hail Mary flyer.
It's a Hail Mary for sure. Hey, Mizzou's 40-1 ahead of Ole Miss, 50-1.
That is wrong.
Vanderbilt's a better bet than Mizzou.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and Ole Miss is a way better bet than Mizzou.
All right, guys, let's cherry pick a little bit here. First of all, in the chat, I saw somebody advocate for Dayton McKinsey says Dayton 18-1 in the A10. With Javonte Perkins' injury to SLU, their competition is still SLU, but Richmond and the Bonnies are obviously heavy favorites there.
Yeah,
Jim, Dayton's got a lot of young talent.
SLU was 16-1 before the Perkins injury, and I liked it, and I bet it, and it's already dead in the water. So that stinks. But now, I think Dayton is probably the third best team in the league. And if some of the young guards, like the freshman guards, Greer and Malachi Smith, if they're good, and Elvis comes over from Dayton and is solid, that front court's fantastic. So 18-1 is probably the best bet in the A10 there on Dayton, unless you can get plus money on Bonaventure. But otherwise, longer shot, definitely the Flyers 18-1.
Yeah, I think the Bonnies are minus 130. Look at the current odds of bettors right now. I agree. I love the Bonnies. We all do. We did last year. We were first, by the way. Don't let anyone tell you that we were the first to endorse the Bonnies as the best team in college basketball.
I'm going to give it to you. I will.
Thank you.
I think we had a
no. It's us.
Year.
No, Jim. I'm a front on name a jersey guy, not name on back. That's just who I am.
Right.
I agree.
You are.
But I agree with their takes. I think Dayton's a pretty good bet here. A lot of injuries at the top of the A10 totem pole.
I'm going to pepper in some mid majors here.
I am too. I actually have a lot to pepper in, so I'll go. You start us off.
All right. Well, let's give it away, baby. All right. James Madison 5-1 to win the Colonial, the CAA. I think that's way off. Northeastern and Delaware are heavy favorites per Bet Rivers currently. JMU, for my money, is the best team in the conference. I think they're being a little bit overlooked here. They lose Matt Lewis, who was their best player last year, player of the year in the conference. They bring in Takal Molson, former first teamer in the MAC, former 20 minutes per game player at Seton Hall. He's going to be awesome. Byington's a fantastic coach.
Yes, he is.
Big fans of him. And Jim, extra motivation. They're not eligible for the CAA tournament if they announce their move to the Sun Belt,
which they did. The appeal, I think, is not appeal, but it's ongoing. Trying to figure that out. There's a big athlete protest to allow them to compete, and the bylaws for that are pretty flawed, I would say. And it's just the amount of media attention it's getting. They should hopefully get a chance to compete for that. They deserve it. The athletes didn't choose to go to the Sun Belt.
It's ridiculous.
I can see why that would be extra motivation, Kai. The regular season would end up being their Super Bowl.
And Matt, how about Wagner 6-1 to win the NEC? This was priced very incorrectly at
50-1.
A lot of books in the country. It's now better, but still value, Matthew.
Yeah, this is Jim was the first to detect this. I love Bryant, and I hate choosing a team other than Bryant. But Wagner's roster is 1A, 1B with Bryant this year. It's a program that's been at the top of the NEC leaderboard for a while. Bashir Mason, his tournament shortcomings are not relevant here. You're betting the team to win the conference, and Wagner can do that. So despite all those heartbreaking losses they've had that have ruined their NCAA tournament chances, it doesn't matter. It's like outright conference title future.
Media and coaches polls are not the be all end all for where teams are going to land, but Wagner's picked to win the league in the preseason poll, and you're getting 6-1 on that. This team won the regular season last year. They bring back 4 super seniors. There's great value at 6-1. If they're arguably the best team, 6-1 is wonderful.
Top team in KenPom as well. If you're a KenPom guy, Belmont plus 125 to win the Ohio Valley.
Yeah, they're winning that league.
Belmont plus money. There's almost no scenario. I'm not going to say anything's a lock, but I don't see a scenario where they don't win this league. Matthew, you wrote the preview for the Ohio Valley.
I wrote down, this is my kind of slew of favorites or of picks I wanted to get to. There's 4 perennial conference frontrunners, Belmont, Vermont, Winthrop, and Wright State in their respective leagues that are all plus money right now.
Can I add Liberty to that?
And Liberty too. I think in general, a little bit undervalued just because all lost key pieces and or conference competitors have really eye-popping new additions. And I think the value of those top teams have really been, you're getting good value is all I'm saying. And Belmont of those 4 is actually my least favorite, Kai, but I still have a little bit of a small peanut on them as well. I think they're the best team. Moorhead has really high upside. I think their talent is off the charts. I watched their exhibition. They brought in some power conference dudes there. I think they're in for a bounce back. Moorhead, the darling from last season. But Belmont's a good pick here.
Belmont didn't lose an Ohio Valley game last year when Nick Muszynski played. They were 18-0. So, I guess they lost the title game.
Moorhead got the title game, but
he was still coming off that injury. Like they were 18-0 when they were healthy, and they have depth, and they have like a sophomore, the Jacoby Wood thing. Like they've actually got a freshman sophomore leap. Some internal development's going to take place. It's not the same team as last year. They're going to be even better. So Belmont's winning this league, Kai.
And Kai, just to put a bow on this, if you bet Belmont, Vermont, Winthrop, and Wright State, I would be shocked if that does not go at least 2-2. And so you're going to net positive money because those are all at least from plus 100 to plus 250 in Wright State's case. So
I'm at Liberty, Matt.
And Liberty, at 3-2. Boom.
A team that's a heavy favorite in their league in a similar vein, Nichols, is even money currently. There's no way in hell they lose this league. They won the league last year with Stephen F. Austin and Abilene Christian. Now, in balance scheduling, they never had to play Abilene, but this league is terrible now outside of Nichols. Southeastern Louisiana and New Orleans are okay, and they have decent values, but I don't see Nichols losing this conference. They might not lose a game. They might have one loss.
Austin Clutch, baby.
I won't go that far that they're going to go undefeated, but yeah, like New Orleans is probably the second best team in my opinion. They just lost to Loyola, Louisiana, an NAIA team in exhibition. Nichols is winning the conference for sure.
It's a conference with lots of transfers. Austin Clutch is the transfer guru. So yes, trust the integration.
Richie Riley. Yep.
Yeah, he's the best.
Learned it from his former boss. And then finally, my last one here, New Mexico State, plus 325 to win the WAC. Price behind Grand Canyon. New Mexico State's better this year, in my opinion, than Grand Canyon, who lost their two best players last year, Mick Guard and Lever. Not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but
I don't know either.
New Mexico State, terrible year last year, Jim. Terrible luck. They had to play outside of the state of New Mexico for their home games. They played in a high school gym in El Paso, Texas. Yeah, you're not going to do very well. And they bring in, of course, a bunch of transfers like always. Teddy Allen is going to score 30 points a game in the WAC. That's a fantastic value at plus 325.
Yeah, again, they were picked to win the preseason poll. Like they were picked first, and I think they're number one in KenPom as well. And you're getting them plus 325. This is way too much of an overreaction to last year, which is like the king of a throw it away year when you can't live at home, you can't play actual home games. Their practice schedule was messed up in the preseason because of New Mexico's rules. So yeah, you got to throw it last year and just remember how dominant Jans has been in this conference.
43-3 the last 3 seasons prior to last year. So there you go.
Is that good?
That's not bad. I think if he has that same percentage this year, that should be good enough for a conference title. They are very injured. Kai, just last thing on this, very injured. I would wait.
Have like 20 guys.
They are deep. Yeah. I'm kind of hoping they stumble in the non-con.
Yeah.
Last year they really limped in, and this could be, you could be getting even better value, I think, by late December.
Do you think mid-major conferences will move that much with non-con? I'm not sure. Maybe.
Unclear. Jim, go ahead.
They've got Irvine to open the season. And if they blow the doors off of maybe the Big West favorite, then perhaps people will wake up to this. But yeah, I mean, I would be in on New Mexico State here.
Matt, any more to pepper in here before we move on to Player of the Year?
Yeah, well, we had some UAB inquiries in the chat. Western Kentucky is actually my favorite pick in this conference, plus 700. I actually have them as the best team right now, and I know they have a couple of dicey roster situations. Harmon, their stud freshman, is hurt or ineligible. I'm blanking, and then they also have
personal reasons. Yeah,
right. And then Keith Williams is like the home run transfer that they just picked up, who is also awaiting clearance from the NCAA. Assuming they're all ready to go, I think this team wins the league. And while plus 700 sounds like insane odds, you got to remember it's a 14-team league. It's generally a crapshoot, so you kind of have to discount that. It doesn't look as juicy to me when you layer on that context. Still, I'm not buying UAB as a short favorite or short dog, and Western Kentucky is plus 700. I'm not there.
The top 3 teams in this league are like almost the same.
1A, 1B, 1C, right?
UAB, Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky. One of them's winning the league, and price-wise, you're getting 7-1 versus minus 110 on UAB. So if you're going just based off value, you got to bet Western Kentucky, and even maybe a little bit of Louisiana Tech, 4.5 to 1. That's my pick to win, and 4.5 to 1, sure. UAB is great, but minus 110 is not a good price at all.
Matt,
in the same vein as what Jim's mentioning, a league with what looks like a 3-horse race, the Ivy, Penn, Princeton, and I'm sorry, it's probably a four-horse race. Penn, Princeton, Ivy, Yale. Penn's sitting at plus
Harvard
800. Ivy, yeah.
Ivy, Yale.
School name.
I'm renaming Harvard to Ivy. Okay. Harvard's just now Ivy, just generic with like the logo now. Plus 800. I mean, again, this is like of those 4, it's the best of those 4, and they're categorically lower than I believe the number 3 team on the board. I'd be looking at the Quakers.
Penn's really high ceiling. They had a bunch of guys miss because of injury. I mean, some guys that haven't played in 2 years, like not just last year where they took off basketball. They were out with injury the previous season. But if those guys are healthy, and Steve Donahue's won this league before at Cornell, and the talent is there, I think they might have the highest ceiling. Them or Harvard probably has the highest ceiling in the league. And if you get good health, 8 to 1, sure, I'll take that.
How about Boston, UConn? 16 to 1. The team that we had pegged as right below Colgate last year. Terrible COVID situation, injuries. The whole Patriot was just a mess last season. Like Colgate just picked on the rest of that league, and Navy to some degree too.
So another team picked to win its league in the preseason poll. So
which is
whatever that's worth for you. But.
Yeah, I think we do have Colgate as a group. We don't agree with that, but I think we agree it's probably the second or third best team, and at 16-1, second for sure. Yeah, probably second. Right. Then 16-1, the Terriers.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Worth a shot at that price.
Lastly, any thoughts on Cleveland State? They are 4-1 to win the Horizon. They were the champions last year. I think Wright State's a better value. Jim, what do you think about Cleveland State?
Yeah, I'm more of a Wright State guy in that league. Cleveland State does bring back everybody from a team that did win the league and add a couple transfers too. So there's a lot of depth there, but it was a little fluky last year that they won that conference. Wright State was definitely better, and I think they're going to be better again. So if you want to go for that 4-1, I wouldn't fault you, but I think Wright State's the pick there.
I agree.
All right, let's wrap up with Player of the Year odds. The favorites: Drew Timme is the favorite at 6-1. Paolo Banchero 7-1. Hunter Dickinson is 8-1. Remy Martin is 8-1.
Don't bet on Remy Martin here, guys. Don't do it.
40 and 10 he's averaging this year.
That's tough. Chet Holmgren is 11-1, and then you got Juzang, Gillespie, Agbaji, and Marcus Carr at 15-1. Do any of those stick out to you guys? Are you reaching deeper into the undervalued?
None of those stick out. I'd seen Banchero at 10-1 somewhere else recently and put a little bit on it. I think he's going to be the best player for a team that is all over media coverage cycles. So that helps. Potential number one pick. It's rare for a freshman to win this. I think only 3 freshmen have ever won the Naismith Player of the Year. So that's going to be a tough hurdle to overcome. But none of these really stand out too much to me, Kai. Timmy's rightfully the favorite, but I'm not like ready to bet him at 6-1.
Yeah. Matthew?
I'm torn. I was hoping to find Javon Quinerly is at 30-1 at the current odds right now. I've put every egg and every chip in the Javon Quinerly basket this year. I'm Jelly fam 2022 through and through. I think he's going to be a star, and those stats are going to look a little bit extra juicy playing at the fastest pace in the country. So I think 23 and 8 is in play for Quinerly this year.
It's just harder to bet on Flyers for Player of the Year. There's
already very fair.
There's narratives going into the year. You know who's going to probably be talked about all season long by the ESPNs of the world. Those are the guys who are going to get the pick here. Now, if you want to look for deeper value, there's a world maybe David McCormick is the best player on Kansas and they're a top 2 team. I could see that happening. Or if Jaden Ivey fulfills his prophecy, Jim, at 30-1, maybe, but I don't buy him to that level.
No. Yeah. I wrote down basically what you said, Kai. It's tough to find a long shot. Like we're generally pretty good at figuring out who the best players are going to be.
Right.
So it's not going to be like a random 100-1 guy steps up and wins this. My favorite values are probably EJ Liddell and Trace Jackson Davis, both at 20-1, both very clearly the best player on their team, both potentially adding something to their game with a perimeter shot. Liddell really started to add it last year. If Ohio State ends up top 5 in the country, I think he is at least flirting with that conversation. And same with TJD. If Woodson's great and Indiana exceeds expectations all the way up into the top 10 or 15, we know he's good enough. So it's just a matter of whether he can actually deliver on that.
Yeah, criteria. Team's really good. Stats are really good. That's your criteria. Someone asked about Max Asmus in the chat. I don't think he can win it on Oral Roberts.
I think Oral Roberts has to be really good this year for him to have like first team All-American Player of the Year upside. And I think they'll be a good team atop of the Summit League, but they need to like win the league convincingly and have like kind of an awesome non-con showing. I don't think they're going to have that though.
I don't think they're going to win the league.
It feels a lot like when Steph Curry went to the Elite Eight and then he lost the point guard that passed it to him every single time
Richards,
down.
Yeah.
And the next year, Davidson was just like, okay, didn't make the tournament. Tough to win National Player of the Year if that's going to be the case. So agreed. Well,
fellas, I think that does it for our first show on the Field of 68 Best Bets show presented by Bet Rivers. Tomorrow, guys, not the same time. Tomorrow is a special time. We are part of the Field of 68 Marathon Day for the opening college hoops buffet that is tomorrow.
Yeah, I believe it's 9 straight hours of programming, and we are tucked in there at 3 o'clock Eastern, Kai, is that right?
3 o'clock Eastern, 2 Central. We are part of the big marathon. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come back to us. Subscribe to this channel, please. Field of 68 Best Bet. Like it. Lots of stats. Let's get some stats going. And we'll be with you all season, mostly again at noon Central. But follow us on Twitter at 3MW_CBB for those links. We'll see you next time. We're excited for college basketball.